Alright, so welcome back, and today we are going to look at set extensions, compositing, match moving, matte painting, whatever you call it. They all kind of fall together in some sort of category. So we're going to be adding new backgrounds, stuff in the foreground, crazy stuff here. Alright, so we're in After Effects. I am using CS6 just for reference. So I've got a piece of footage here, and let's go ahead and just bring it into the composition. Drag it down here to the comp, make a comp, and so basically it's just me walking with the Blackmagic pocket camera on my helmet rig, so that's why it's fairly shaky. So I have this piece of footage, and looking at it, I see something pretty cool that we can do. Removing the background from like here along this edge, and putting in something else. So we may not do this whole clip, just for time's sake. So I'm going to trim this to a good spot. So we'll start here. Let's go ahead and trim in point and our out point. Right about there. And let's go up to composition and trim comp to work area. Alright, so now we're working with this little section. Cool. Okay, so now the special thing about this footage is that it's shot in a wide angle lens on the pocket camera. It was actually a 10.5 millimeter, but with a speed booster on it, so it was wider than it actually is. But then the pocket camera has a crop, so it's really messy. But anyway, you typically with fisheye footage is usually from like a GoPro or something like that. So you can use any of those types of cameras. So this is just the principles of using fisheye footage. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to do to get rid of this distortion and how we're going to track this. So first off, let's go ahead and Control-Shift-C on our composition if you're on a PC, or it's Command-Shift-C on a Mac. And go ahead and we're going to pre-compose this, and we're going to name it Base 1 and hit OK. Okay, so let's go into the base 1 composition. Go right click on the composition here and go to comp settings, and we're going to extend this up to 3840 by 2160. So essentially this is UHD 4K footage. That's what the resolution would be. And this is what you'll have here. So let's go back to our city composition, and we are going to pre-compose this again, called base 2. I'm just naming these just so that they're shorter than what the actual name was. And let's go ahead and open that up. We can get rid of our base 1 and go into its comp settings, and 3840 by 2160. Okay, so the same thing as base 1. I assure you that it's going to start making sense here. Alright, so in this composition we have our base 1 comp, which is what our raw footage is in. So we can close that. And up here in the effects, I like to type my effects up here instead of going into effects, the tab up top. So I'm going to type in optics. It was already up there. Optics compensation. I'm going to apply that. And up here in the effects panel, you see the field of view, and below it is the reverse lens distortion. We're going to click that. And field of view, with this lens, I found that if I bring it up to 115, that it gives me essentially the perspective that I need. So what it's doing is it's stretching it out so that it is close to being what a normal scene would look like. So you got the lines that are straight. There's really not much distortion besides right here. But that's not what we're worried about. We're worried about these lines here. So that's fine. So you may have to just adjust this depending on what lens you're working with. So I'll do that. All right. So let's go back to our city comp and go back to our base 2 comp, and we'll just click our base 1, and we're going to pre-compose this one more time. So base 3. Okay. Now it really doesn't matter what the name of these the comps are. It's just so that you know that inside you pretty much are working with your raw footage, and then on the next layer you have your comp that has the optics compensation applied to it. And since you can't 3D track this composition because this effect is applied to it, so that's why you pre-comp it. And now that we have it pre-comped, we can track our footage. So up in animation, go to track camera. Again, this is for CS6 and above. I don't believe 5.5 has this 3D camera tracker. But now we're going to track our footage. I'm going to go into advanced and do a detailed analysis. Hopefully that will take more detail into the solve. So I'm going to let this go. Okay, so we're back, and our 3D camera tracker has finished solving the scene. And so what I've got at least, is a lot of points. Some of them good, some of them bad. What I'm concerned with, though, is just this ground plane right up here. And I like to go about midway through the scene and choose a ground plane from this area because it's mostly in the scene altogether. Let's see, let's select a good bit of points here. Let's create a solid in camera. And I'm going to be using a free script from aescripts.com called Orient World, and I'll put a link in the description below so you can get it. And once you've installed it, you can go to Window and Orient World here, and it's going to help us get it so when we drop in 3D or our 2D assets for the background and stuff, that they drop in properly and a lot easier to work with. But we're not going to use that right yet. First, let's go ahead and establish a couple other solids. Like, before I go into it, we're going to need to mask out this area here. So in order to do that, I found one easy way of doing it would be to put a solid here and like make another solid like that, and attach another solid that I can use a mask path and just raise it up and then mask this out, and it should stay even with that. And then if it doesn't, then I can just go in and manually adjust it, but it should for the most part work fine. And one issue we're gonna have to worry about, I guess, is this here, as that moves, as it parallaxes as I move forward. So we'll get into that. First off, let's go ahead and make another solid. Looks good. We'll do one. Okay, so let's get going. And now that I got those solids, I also want to bring in a couple nulls from back here. So let's see where. I know this null's on this tree here, so I like that depth. And what I'm doing is I'm pulling some depth for what I want to replace later on. And what else is back here? Where is that at? Yeah, that's back there. Okay, so let's go ahead and use Orient World and get our world oriented. I see what they did there. And let's go ahead and open up the advanced settings, and I'm going to choose the world center 000. And also going to, actually no, let's go ahead and make it comp center. Ground plane, that's our ground plane, so you can either choose the wall XY, so depending on what scene you're doing, you have that option. And let's go ahead and apply, and we can kind of close that out. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring in a solid, and it doesn't matter what color. We'll bring it in, and boom. So that's what Orient World did. It took our solid that we made and made it the center of our composition. That's why I chose the comp center. If you choose 000, I believe it brings everything to that corner, because that's what it knows as 000. Which is, I'm not going to get into that. Anyway, let's go ahead and move that solid where I want it. So I'm going to start with this side, and let's go ahead and hit P, bring down a position, and if I hold shift and hit R, it'll bring up the orientation. So I'm going to shift click so I get both of them in Control C, and on our solid, Control V. Okay, so let's go ahead and move this up and scale it up. Now I'm doing this in sections because I don't trust this position for this whole length here. So I'm going to kind of break this up, and then I'll mat it out of the plate. So that looks pretty good. Pretty good. Cool. So we can go ahead and hide it, and we are going to mask now. Let's again go through and just tweak the mask. Okay, so I have the mask working the way that I want it to. I could go into more detail on it. I might actually just feather it off just a touch. And let's see. And we'll just move on. Okay, so I got to do the same thing to these sections here. So I'll do one more just for this corner, and then one last one for this side. Okay, so after doing this, I decided I'm going to kind of focus down on just this one little area so that I don't have to do to go through as much, and this tutorial can be a whole lot shorter. So I focused 3 different segments that I had to mat out. So what I had to do in order to do an alpha inverse mat on each one was I had to keep pre-comping the, so if I go into this one, I have to pre-comp this is like the second layer of the inception of mattes. With the 3D tracker camera, the solid, and the first layer, which is this matte, a 3D tracker camera. So if I go back up, it's like I'm just stacking these on. And then if I go back up to the comp that we're going to be compositing in, it's all together. So I'm actually going to feather this mask a little bit. Cool. That'll work for now. Obviously, it'd be a lot cleaner if I was doing this full, but you'll see once we start putting stuff behind there, and even like on the other side of this wall, it'll help kind of sell this seam. So let's go ahead and get rid of the rest of this. We can just mask it. Cool. That should be good. Awesome. So we have a pretty decent foreground. I know it's looking crazy and it's looking ugly, but once you start putting a sky and then some buildings and some stuff maybe further in the distance, some stuff closer like a tree or some brush, helicopters and crap. I love putting helicopters in. It's going to look really cool. So next step, we can, I guess, hide these for now. Even these. Let's see. Let's go ahead and before we even get into putting the stuff in the back, let's talk about how we're going to format this image so that it looks like it's distorted again. So our first layer, which was our original composition, has our base 2, which is our, the stuff that we're the composition that we're compositing in. Holy crap, that's a tongue twister. And so our original composition has the 38 by 40 by 21 by 60 composition, and then we apply a optics composition to it to readjust the image. So if we go back to 0, you can see that this composition is exactly like this one. So let's undo that. And once we apply this optic compensation, we don't have to check it this time because we're going back the other way. So if I type in 115 like we did the first time, it's going to bring it back. But you're going to see that it's distorting it a little too much because we're cutting off some of the image. That's not too bad because we can just adjust it so that the corners are there. And there we go. We'll obviously see a whole lot more once we start putting stuff in there. It's gonna look cool. All right, so first off, let's go ahead and find a sky to put in. Go ahead to Google Images and let's do foreboding clouds. And go to size. And let's 8 megapixels or bigger. It is you. I would choose you, Pikachu. I actually think I've used this before. Looks oddly familiar. Okay, so let's go ahead and save it to my assets folder. Save, and let's do another. Okay, so I found this image, and I think I'm going to use that for the plate. Locate our assets folder. Let's bring it. Okay, so I have my sky. I'll go ahead and put that behind everything. And since I have some tracking data, let's see. So if I bring this in, I want to make it 3D. And I want to rotate it so I know it's going to face the camera. And let's go ahead and take a look at some of these nulls. Okay. All right, let's find the furthest one back. And that would go to this one here, 142,000. Wow, that's really far back there. So we'll use it and apply it to our sky. Just bring it up, scale, and we can rotate it. And reposition the height. There we go. So let's go ahead and add our second picture here. And I'm going to actually use a color key to key out this blue sky. Here we go. Let's go ahead and choose that middle there. Okay, we're going to add another. And choose this lighter blue. Till it's almost all gone. There we go. Feather it. It's looking good. Okay, now we just need to position this in 3D space. So let's go ahead and hide it. And let's see which. Let's go ahead and do this one. It's kind of close. So maybe it might help. Might help the parallaxing here. So I'm going to make that a 3D layer. Gonna watch it. Let's see. And let's go ahead and copy that position. Paste. Go ahead and scale it up. So this is a pretty cool picture. Now we still need to do some color correction on it and stuff. But it's pretty cool. So I kind of like that. Let's go ahead and add just a fast blur onto it so it's not so sharp. And let's go ahead and get rid of these solids. And let's go take a look at the finished. Okay. Already it's looking pretty cool. We got some sky issue there, but we can take care of that. But seriously, like, this is just that like easy mask that I did. I mean, I didn't even put that much time into it. It looks really cool. So let's go ahead and go back and let's color correct this image so that it matches, and then we can adjust from there. And we'll add a couple more things. just so that you guys can get a depth, or like the depth of the scene. But so far it's looking really cool. So let's go ahead and open up our sky, and we'll just make it bigger. Alright, so let's take a look at our curves for our building. Okay, so first off, we're going to raise the blacks. And let's go ahead and do the same thing for our sky. Actually, instead of curves, let's just go with a desaturation. So type in hue and saturation. Desaturate the sky a little bit, and add a hue and saturation to our plate. And we'll bring it up just a tad. Even this out. I don't want to completely wash out that background image. Cool. And curves. Awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring in let's bring in some brush and stuff that we can put on like the outside here. Okay, so I brought in just a couple pieces of grass and brush that I can just put in along the edge here. And so let's go ahead and do that. We'll find this one here. Let's go ahead and just bring it in, and it's going to go below our plate. Make it 3D. Let's go ahead and just increase the size and hit A, and let's adjust the anchor point. Alright, so this is pretty big. That's about the right size, and get rid of these nulls and bring up our solids. Alright, so I want this position of this solid. Copy its position and paste. Okay. And let's go ahead and desaturate it a little bit. Yeah, the trick is to match your footage. So if you notice that at certain depths it gets a little bit blurry. Okay, so I can just duplicate my grass now. Go ahead and add some smoke. Let's see, puffy smoke, maybe even some dark smoke. Let's go ahead, add the dark smoke, and we're going to put this behind our building, in between the sky and building. Make it 3D. Go ahead and just scale it up, and I'm going to scrub through. Okay, so let's go ahead and adjust the anchor point too, so that it's at the base of our smoke. And we can even use the position from our building plate back there and just apply it. And we'll push it back further. I'm going to rotate it so that it should be facing the camera. Keep moving it over here. If you hold shift and scroll, it should move a lot faster. Put a curves adjustment so that we can tone it down a little bit. Bring up the blacks. Cool. And let's go ahead and add another. Let's add these puffy smokes. Let's do this one. And this is going to go also, it's going to go behind our grass. We can even use the position and orientation of the grass. Make it 3D. And we'll paste that onto our smoke, scale it up. Move this back in Z space. Apply a toner. So I kind of want to change the color of that. And cool. So let's go ahead and take a look at the final plate and see how it's looking. So far, I definitely want to slow the large smoke plume back there down a bit, and maybe adjust the grass here and duplicate it and mess with that. Other than that, though, it's looking pretty cool. The track's looking pretty good. I may even think about adding maybe like a sun. Like you can see that the sun is pretty harsh on this building here, and it looks like this area might be under some shadow, which actually looks pretty good. I mean, it looks believable, but we may want to add that sunlight beam. It might just, help sell the effect that it's, in the shade. So let's go ahead and go back and take a look. Okay, so I'm going to adjust my grass. And I'm going to make it adjust the blur on it even more. Way too much. That's better, so it's not so crisp. And let's duplicate it. Okay, so get the idea there. Let's talk about making that that shape. We can do the same thing like we did with one of the track solids. So not that one, this one here. And let's go ahead and just duplicate that. Scale it up. Let's go and change the color to yellow. Yellowish white. And we are going to draw a mask. Alright, so let's take a look. Might be too yellow, so let's go ahead and adjust that. And adjust the mask. And we will duplicate our plate. Alright, so in order for me to use the alpha track that I have on my plate, I'm going to need to pre-comp like I did all my other mats. So here you can see, copy the camera, select one of the cameras, and the mat and the pre-comp. Control Shift C, pre-comp it again. Now I can duplicate it, bring it up here. And we can alpha mat. There we go. Alright, so let's go ahead and adjust. And change the color here. Cool. Alright, so let's get rid of that solid. And now let's slow down our puffy smoke. We are going to take it and do a time remapping. And start at the beginning, make a keyframe, and right here, halfway through, make another keyframe and stretch it out to the end. Alright, and then hit the toggle switches down here. Select this frame blending option so that we get a nice diagonal line, and enable frame blending. That should take care of the slow smoke. Let's add the overall grade to the shot. Let's add an adjustment layer and add a glow. Alright, so with this glow, we're going to go to the glow colors in A and B. And down with B, we're going to select white. Let's adjust the threshold. Adjust this until we find something we like. I kind of like the bloom look. I know it kind of adds, like you can see here with the sun spot, that it from nothing to just a little bit. Okay, so we put the glow in, looks cool. Let's go ahead and adjust the curves. But even this like grass here, just scrubbing through it, you can see how it's parallaxing just a little bit. I mean, if you add more stuff along the back here, that will really help. So that being said, I'm going to leave this to you guys, and I'll link the project, namely just the footage and some of the assets, and you can follow along with the tutorial, see what you guys can put out, and you know, send it to me. I'd like to see it. So I'll see you guys on the next tutorial.